For centuries, the people of Flores Island in Indonesia whispered about the Ebu Gogo, small, hairy forest people who spoke in strange murmurs, stole food from villages, and vanished into caves before sunrise. Most outsiders dismissed them as myths, but around 60,000 years ago, Flores was home to something far stranger than legend. Homo floresiensis, a real species of human, barely 3.5 feet tall. I was moving through the wet forest at dusk, following a trail of bare footprints. They looked human, but they were far too small. The feet were broad, the toes spread wide in the mud. Then I heard it. Click, click, click. Stone striking stone. I followed the sound into the darkness of Liang Bua Cave. Inside, tiny figures crouched beside animal bones. They had human faces, strong hands, low foreheads, broad shoulders, and unusually large feet. One held a sharp stone flake, another pulled meat from a carcass. I realized I was not looking at animals or children. I was looking at another kind of human. Thousands of years later, archaeologists found proof inside that same cave. In 2003, they uncovered the skeleton of an adult female known as LB1. She was around 30 years old, only 3 feet 6 inches tall, and had a brain much smaller than ours. Yet the ground around her held stone tools, animal bones, and cut marks, evidence that Homo floresiensis knew how to shape sharp flakes and use them to survive. Their intelligence was not written in books or cities. It was written in the landscape. They knew where to find stone, water, shelter, fruit, roots, insects, birds, giant rats, and meat. Liang Bua was likely not a comfortable permanent home, but a rock shelter, a place to escape rain, heat, and predators, to process food, protect children, and return to again and again. Their lives were a constant struggle. Small groups probably moved through forests and river valleys, searching for whatever the island could provide. Their most extraordinary food source was stegodon, a prehistoric dwarf elephant. On Flores, even elephants had shrunk, but they were still enormous beside a 3-foot-tall hunter. A single frightened stegodon could crush a hobbit in seconds. We do not know whether Homo floresiensis hunted young animals, trapped them near difficult terrain, or scavenged carcasses, but their bones found in Liang Bua show that these tiny humans obtained and butchered them. And while they hunted, they were also hunted. Komodo dragons stalked the island's forests, and a giant stork called Leptoptilus robustus stood around 6 feet tall, towering over them. For Homo floresiensis, the forest was never quiet. Every rustle could mean food or death. Then Flores began to change. The rains weakened, water sources became unreliable, forests shifted, and the dwarf elephants they depended on became rarer. Around the same broad period, Homo sapiens, our own species, reached the islands nearby. We do not have proof that our ancestors fought the Hobbits. There is no final battlefield, no weapon buried in their bones, no record of a last war. But on a small island, when water is disappearing, prey is vanishing, and a new human species arrives, even simple competition can become deadly. Odo returned to Liang Bua years later. The cave was silent. No clicking stone tools, no tiny footprints, no watchful faces in the firelight. Only darkness and old bones beneath the earth. Homo floresiensis vanished, but their existence changes the story of humanity forever. We once imagined that humans were alone, the smartest creatures, the final version, the rulers of the planet. But the real hobbits prove that Earth was once crowded with other humans. Different bodies, different minds, different ways of surviving. On one volcanic island, tiny humans lived beside Komodo dragons, giant storks, and dwarf elephants for thousands of generations. The Ebu Gogo may be legend, but Homo floresiensis was real. And as Odo walked away from the silent cave, he understood the most terrifying truth of all. The world did not belong to us.